Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another video. Welcome to a book haul. This is gonna be an accumulation of books that I've bought, new releases that I've pre-ordered over the past, I wanna say 2 months, whenever I did my last book haul, which was after a New York City trip. So I have definitely done some more book shopping. We just recently went to California. If you haven't seen my latest reading vlog, we definitely did some book shopping there, and I bought a lot more books than I was expecting. I think I'm gonna kind of like chill out a little bit too, because I just did an updated physical TBR tour and I am just like seeing how much I recycle books, and I'm just like really feeling the itch to read a lot of the physical books that I own after going through all of them and just like rediscovering why I bought them in the first place and yada yada. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into these books. There's quite a lot here. I've got a few stacks kind of like around me here. Let's go ahead and just dive into it. So these first two books here are two little novellas by Bachmann that I found. One of them at Half-Price Books, and then one is from our California trip. So this one is called The Deal of a Lifetime, and it just sounds really cute. And I didn't realize he had these little novellas until I actually was looking for the Man Called Ove. I didn't know there's illustrations in here either. I ended up finding this one instead. I'm really excited to dive into this one. And then this one is called And Every Morning the Way Home Gets Longer and Longer. And I just love anything that has to do with like an older person giving advice to a younger person. I just think it's like the most, I don't know, one of the most like life special things. I got this at Laguna Books. This is kind of the same thing. It is just a little novella. It also has a little bit of art in it. And I don't know, his writing style is perfect for like little novellas like this, and just little, like, I don't know, little stories with like advice and stuff. And I just love those so much, especially from him. I think he just, like I said, has like the perfect writing style for these types of books. Yeah, I'm just like really excited to dive into these. Because I've already mentioned a California trip, I'll just jump into all the books that I bought in California, which are all of these plus that one. The first one that I got is called Wish Tree. This is by Catherine Applegate, and I bought this book because I kept seeing it around and just kept basically not buying it for myself. I just kept putting it down, and I really just like am intrigued by the premise of this. I'll read the description. It says, "Red is an oak tree who is many rings old. Red is the neighborhood wish tree. People write their wishes on pieces of cloth and tie them to Red's branches. Along with a crow named Bongo and other animals who seek refuge in Red's hollows, this wish tree watches over the neighborhood. When a new family moves in, no one is welcoming, and Red's experience as a wish tree is more important than ever. With a message of inclusion for dreamers and welcomers, this is a book for our lives and times." And just everything about that just sounds really, really fantastic. Yeah, I am really excited to read this. Let me know down below if you've read this before. I haven't heard or seen anybody talk about it, but I'm just really intrigued, and I'm already seeing a trend in my recent buys with these first 3 books we already talked about, that I just love little, like, I don't know, little sweet books like that. This is not gonna be a little sweet book, I don't think. This is called The Garden by Nick Newman. This looks like some type of like gothy, horror-y thriller maybe. On the front it does say, "Part fable, part literary thriller, The Garden may be the elusive inheritor to the weirdness of Susanna Clark's Piranesi." Why was that so hard to say? I loved Piranesi. This just grabbed my attention. Anything with like creepy like garden feels usually intrigues me. And I'll read the first quote on top. It says, "A fairy tale which gets you by the throat and doesn't let go. The Garden is both a horror story and a meditation on love and the end of the world." Interesting. "This claustrophobic and darkly beautiful thriller is a gothic dystopian inversion of The Secret Garden." That sounds good. Another thing says, "Part dystopian fantasy, part horror. This book is perfect for fans of Shirley Jackson's We Have Always Lived in the Castle," which I also own that book and need to read. So yeah, everything, all of those reviews, everything about it sounds really, really cool. And I think that this is a new release because I saw it on like the recently released table, or like the front table at Barnes & Noble. And I think I picked this one up at the Grove, Barnes & Noble. The next one is called The Girl with Golden Eyes. This is a translated fiction by Honoré de Balzac. Yeah, basically this is about a guy who is infatuated by this girl with golden eyes, and I think it ends up killing him. She's called The Woman on Fire, and he returns every day to see where he last saw her to learn her name. He's like obsessed with her. He ends up learning some bitter truth about the girl. Ends in bloodshed. So this is a magnificent and unforgettable tale in which sensuality grows out of mystery. The beginning might have come from the pen of Dante and the end from the 1001 Nights, but the whole could be the work of the man who wrote it. I don't know, but I'm super duper intrigued, and I just love these editions too. NYRB classics. I don't know, I just love the structure of these books. I've read a couple of them and they've all been really good, so I'm excited for that one. As you can tell, I've been kind of like in my weird literary fiction mood recently. I've been buying a lot of them, like with a little hint of horror, maybe a little gothic, and just like weird fiction novels. And here's another one, Women Were Dragons, and it says fierce, feminist, and funny on the front. And I've actually almost read this a few times, but it's like one of those books that every time I see it in the store, I really want to buy it, and I don't end up buying it, and then when I get home, I forget about it, and I don't like think about it again until I see it in the store again. And I finally just ended up buying it for myself because I think now is the time. If I'm gonna read a book like this, like I'm just really in the mood right now for something like this. And I think this is basically following a group of women who turn into dragons, and they're just like feral out in the world as dragons. I don't know if that's true, but that's kind of like what I got from the description. So honestly, say less. Like if I could just turn into a dragon and go like fly around and be feral, like I would. Yeah, I'm not really gonna like read any more about it because I don't want to go in with really any more knowledge about what it's about. But yeah, I think that book has been around for a little while because I know I've seen it in the thrift store too, and I'm like kicking myself every time that I didn't buy it. Yeah, so continuing with our California book haul, I picked up Stoner by John Williams, and this is another one of those NYRB classics. I saw this a lot when we went to New York City, but even before that, I had seen a review from a guy who read this and like had incredible things to say about it and said it was like one of his absolute favorite books that he's ever read. Oh yeah, I got this at Lita Village Books. I think this is a character study of a guy who is, let's see, I'll just read it. Stoner is born at the end of the 19th century into a dirt poor Missouri family. Sent to the State University to study agronomy, he instead falls in love with English literature and embraces a scholarly life, so different from the hard scrabble existence he has known. And yet as the years pass, Stoner encounters a succession of disappointments. Marriage into a proper family estranges him from his parents. His wife and daughter turn coldly away from him. A transforming experience of new love ends under threat of scandal. Driven ever deeper within himself, Stoner rediscovers the stoic silence of his forebears and confronts unessential solitude. I don't know, it just sounded very introspective, and like watching this guy struggle through these just like very normal life things that happen. I don't know, and I just have this feeling that I'm gonna like it. Just looking at his face, he just seems really solemn, and I just am really curious. So I bought it, and it's not too long. It's like 250 pages, and just based off that guy's review and then seeing it around so much, it kind of just like prompted me to buy it. So I did. I think this is gonna be a book that I'm gonna pick up when I'm ready to like really digest everything that it has to say and follow the story. The next book that I got in California is Lord of the Flies by William Golding. I've been wanting to read this book for a little while, and I'm not sure how I feel about this edition, but I just don't like these, whatever these edges are called, the like not speckled edges or whatever this is called. It just really annoys me because I feel like I can't ever turn the page right, which is such a first world problem. But I didn't really know what this book was really about. Like I didn't know the preface of this book or the premise of this book until I recently looked into it and like read the description, and it actually sounds really, really good. It kind of reminded me of Gracier that I read. These group of girls sent off to live in this like walled off space as they were growing into their maturity, and they end up fighting and killing each other and like turning on each other. And I'm pretty sure that this kind of has the same premise with a group of boys. That is why I ended up buying it, because I really, really liked Gracier. It was really, really good. So, and this is a classic, and I'm trying to get more into these, like back into some of those like classics and stuff that I read a long time ago, but didn't really appreciate like what they had to say, and that's going to be one of them that I want to read soon. This is another book that I really don't like the speckled edges or whatever those are called, but I just kept seeing this cover around so much. And then I realized that this is by Paul Harding, which is the author of The Tinkers that I read recently this year. I can't remember if it was this year or last year, but I did really like that book. And yeah, I just kept seeing this one around, and this one, the description kind of describes it as like a sacrifice, following the story of people who like take in this older gentleman or something, and then he ends up sacrificing himself for the family or for his kid or the kids or something like that. Yeah, it's set in the 1790s on an island, interracial family or interracial community, beginning with a hurricane flood reminiscent of the story of Noah's Ark. The novel ends with yet another arc in a luminous, transcendent story of human dignity in the face of bigotry, which I remember reading that now. And that's why I bought it, because I don't know, it's just like an important thing to, I don't know, like make yourself emotionally aware of. That's why I bought it. And I want to read about like the sacrifice and like martyrs and stuff like that. Those types of stories always really, really touch me. So yeah, that's why I bought this one. This is the last book that I bought in California. So these are all the books that I bought in California. There's our little California book haul for you. And now we can jump into most of my like fantasy books and some of my like special edition books back here. But before that, I just want to show you this book that I got recently. This is called The Candlewick Book of Fairy Tales, and this is a kid's book, okay? I bought this for future children that we end up having, hopefully, and let's see if I can even turn the page. I'm not a teacher, okay? There's just like a bunch of like old classic fairy tales in here with really pretty pictures. And a lot of these were like favorites from my childhood, so I just really wanted my kids to have a book like this. I found this at an antique store, so yeah, I had to buy it. Also really love that cover. So yeah, I bought this recently. All right, so we'll just start over here in this stack. This first one is called The Wall. This is by Marlon Haushofer. And this I also bought because I saw a review on the internet basically describing this book as following a woman who is on the wrong side of the wall whenever the wall is built between countries, and she can't get across. And so all she has on her side of the wall is her companions with her animals. And so you're just like following her as she's like in this companionship with these animals and like talking to them and stuff, and that to me just sounds like right up my alley, because I'm the kind of person that like most of the time I'll prefer the companionship of an animal over like humans. Yeah, so this says in the back, a nuanced and loving portrait of a relationship between a woman and her animals, a thrilling survival story, a Cold War era dystopian adventure, and a truly singular feministic classic. Really excited actually to read this. I keep thinking about picking it up, but I didn't put it on any of my TBRs because I didn't want to spoil the book haul. So now you guys know, and I'm planning on reading this soon just because I think it's gonna be something I really, really love. Next book on that stack, I'm trying not to let you see all these books before I talk about them, but you probably already have, it's fine. This is Lady Chasterley's Lover by D.H. Lawrence. This is a classic by D.H. Lawrence. I've owned one of his books actually. It was called Sons and Lovers, and I did not end up reading it, and I think it was just too much of a jump for me to jump into a classic that was that size. So I wanted to start more digestible classics that were just a little bit shorter. That's just how it works for me. This one, honestly, the cover just really intrigued me. And I saw this was displayed in Barnes & Noble, and then on the back it says, famously banned for indecency, which in a classic, you don't really know, like, indecency in a classic, does that mean that they just like kiss and they weren't supposed to? You never know. D.H. Lawrence's final novel, I didn't know it was his final novel, is one of the most notorious and passionate love stories in literature. Constance Chatterley is a young woman trapped in an unfulfilling marriage to an aristocrat whose war wounds have left him paralyzed. After her husband demands that she provide him with an heir, she begins an affair with the gamekeeper. Shocking to its original audience for its cross-class romance, as well as for its sexual explicitness, the novel has long been hailed as a summit of Lawrence's artistic achievement and one of the most influential novels of the 20th century. Just really intrigued, really loved the artwork on the cover too. So I guess we'll just see what all this is about and why it shocked so many people in the time. The next book that I got is called The Rage of Dragons by Evan Winter. I'm really excited for this book. I bought this when we finished our Game of Thrones. We watched all seasons of Game of Thrones and finished it, and I immediately like went to the bookstore and tried to find more books that were gonna give me that feeling. What I ended up doing was just reading Game of Thrones, and it helped. I tried to pick up other books that wasn't Game of Thrones, and it was not doing it for me. I couldn't finish anything, couldn't start anything. So yeah, needless to say, that's why I bought this book. I've seen this around so much. It definitely had its moment where people were just buying it, but I never actually saw anybody review it. And the description of it sounded really good. This just seems like a classic high fantasy that's gonna involve dragons, and I'm here for that. I will collect so many books like this. I also have a couple others. The Blood Over Fire, which actually, it's not Blood Over Fire, it's Of Blood and Fire. I have the indie copy of this, but then I saw this at the store. These are my two up and coming dragon fantasy books that I have on my shelf now. I bought this. This is our next book in the book haul because, wow, that's pretty. I bought this version because it's signed. It's a signed special edition, and these signed special editions actually have like a different colorway than the other version. And I might be wrong, but I don't know why they made the colors different, but I don't know, I just really, really love the artwork of this. And there's artwork on the interior. There's like pictures of dragons. It was really, really difficult for me to walk away from this book. I saw it in New York City. Like, that was in February for Valentine's Day, and it was already out in their New York City Barnes & Noble, which was before the release date. And I was so taken aback because I'm like, wait a minute, I have this book, but I didn't know it had been picked up by a traditional publisher. And I didn't buy it, and I've regretted it ever since. And so when I saw it at my local Barnes & Noble and a signed edition, I just kind of like had to buy it. I have no explanation, but I will be probably like just collecting these versions now, because buying the indie versions of an entire series in hardback is very expensive. It's like $200, so probably just buy these as they come out. So yeah, these are the other two books that I bought recently. The next and last one in that stack is A River Enchanted by Rebecca Ross. I really wanted the hardcover of this book because I think I'm gonna really like it, and books that I want to keep for a long time, I want them to be in hardback. I didn't really realize how pretty this book was. This is a special edition of River Enchanted. I love this art style, like a watercolory, like a watercolor style art. And I'm not actually sure who published this book. This looks like a Illumicrate. So yeah, it's an Illumicrate edition. It's signed. I had a friend who said that she thought I would really like this book because of my taste in books that I've read recently. So I heeded her word and I went ahead and bought it, but I was trying to like hold out and find an edition that I wanted to keep for a long time. To be honest, I don't really love the sprayed edges. I'm not a huge sprayed edge fan. I'm really not. And I just don't really like the red on white. It's kind of throwing me off. But I also didn't love the newer edition that they just published with like, I like the color scheme, but I didn't like, I don't know, the art style was kind of like odd. It was throwing me off too. So, and I couldn't find a hardcover River Enchanted that wasn't a book of the month cover either. So I went ahead with this one because I do think it's really pretty on the inside. And then let's just go ahead and move into our other special editions. The Traitor Queen by Daniel L. Jensen. This is the second book in the Bridge Kingdom series, and they are coming out with all these hardbacks that are just absolutely, oh my gosh, just like incredible, like stunning, like just, are you kidding me? That should be illegal. Like, that's so good. And then I really love this. If you've read the series, you kind of know what this is, like what scene this is, but this whole place in the palace is like a spot in the palace. I love this just spot in the palace. I can't really say any more without giving anything away, but wow. And then end papers aren't anything special, unfortunately, but we got all the good stuff on the outside. I'm just gonna be buying these hardcovers as they come out, and then I haven't decided yet if I'm going to keep all of the paperbacks or not, because I have the traditional paperbacks and then I have the indie paperbacks. And then I also am now getting the hardbacks. I just have to make a decision like which ones I want to keep forever, probably these, and then get rid of the one of the paperback editions. But yeah, that's Trader Queen. That was my favorite book out of the entire series, was that second book. A new release that has recently come out, which is Rise of Starling. I just, yeah, more nervous honestly than excited to read this book, and it's just because of my relationship with the first one was not the best. I don't know, I just didn't really enjoy it. It was kind of surface level, and I felt like not really a whole lot happened until like the last 100 pages, and then everything happened, but you had to read like 350 pages just to even get there. And during all of that time, we didn't really make any progress into like getting to know our characters at all. And I just had like a really hard time with it. I just felt like I was overhyped. And usually when I feel like a book is overhyped, it kind of like ruins my whole relationship with the book in general. So whatever happened at the end of that, Shield of Sparrows, the first book, I don't even remember what happened, but whatever it was enough for me to want to buy the second one and keep going. I think I'll be reading it soon, but I don't think I'm in like a rush really to get to it. So on to our last little stack of books here. Wow, these are really heavy books, but I think I mentioned that I started the Game of Thrones series. So yes, I did buy the books. I bought, actually, hold for a second. I bought first mass market paperback version of Game of Thrones. I just really love, for whatever reason, just the feeling of this little book. It's just really satisfying. It's cute. The papers aren't too thick where it's like a crunchy mass market paperback, which I can't stand those. After I finished the first book, I went and I picked up the second. So I have these two little guys, which are the books that I'm actually reading. And then for, I guess you could say like collectible items, or just like, these are the books that I'm going to keep on my shelves forever, are these really massive hardcover illustrated versions of the books. So these have really, really cool art pieces in them. Oh my gosh, I love this one. So yeah, that's kind of why I bought these. And these are the ones, like I said, that I'm going to have like displayed on my shelf. And then this is the second one that I just recently bought. I'm going to be buying them as I read the series. Eventually I'm gonna have the whole series and have it up displayed on my shelves and stuff, but I think these are kind of the books that I'm like most excited about buying and like finally getting into. Game of Thrones was not really a series that I thought I was ever gonna read. I thought watching the series was gonna be good enough for us, or for me at least, but no. I was in such a massive hangover that I never felt before after watching a series that I just had to read the books. I couldn't spend any more days away from the characters, which is crazy. And then my most recent purchase, I got this yesterday actually. I was just out at Half-Price Books. I was kind of killing some time actually. I needed to be away from the house for a little bit, and so I just swung by to see what I could find, and I ended up finding this really pretty penguin fabric classic edition of Emma by Jane Austen. Brand new condition. Don't think the person even read this book. It was a $25 book and I got it for $7 at Half-Price Books. So I couldn't really say no to that. I do really think that they're really pretty and they'll last a long time. So these are the kind of books that like I would like to have on my shelf forever. So when I saw it, I went ahead and picked it up, and I know that I do really like Jane Austen's writing. Every time I go to Half-Price Books, I always like to kind of swing by because you never know what they're gonna have, and I always have kind of like a backlist of books in my head that I want to get. Yeah, that is the end of the book haul, I think. That is the end of the book haul. Thank you guys for sticking around till the very end. So let me count these books and see how many we actually have. So total, there are 22 books, which I've bought those over the past, I want to say 2 months. That might be wrong. Thank you guys so much for being here and watching all the way through if you did. I hope you guys have had a wonderful week and weekend. And if you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe, and see you guys in the next video next Saturday. Bye guys.